Welcome on in and gather round, gang. It's time for some more Age of Wonders 4 news. Our friends over at Triumph have just released Dev Diary number 52, detailing the tomes that we'll be seeing in the Thrones of Blood DLC. My favorite part, so let's dive right on in. Greetings, night creatures. I'm Lewis, a senior designer at Triumph Studios, and now that you have journeyed through these sunless lands, I'm thrilled to unveil the new tomes I've crafted for Thrones of Blood. My aim with these tomes is to not only complement the new Elder Vampire leaders, but also make sure they possess their own unique identity, and here's the tomes in question. We've seen these in their streams, and I've already promised one. I can't promise, we've got some stuff going on in the background right now in the personal life, so I can't promise an analysis before the dev streams. Just a little bit too much going on with that. But they have shown off all three of these in those live streams, so if you want to jump on over and watch them, there is actually some good information on the new stuff here. So these are going to be a combination of Shadow and Chaos tomes. So these two are going to be a combo of Chaos and Shadow, and this tome is going to be a purely Shadow tome. These all look incredible. Very spooky. This one I think is my favorite though. I love the purple candles burning on this kind of sigil. This is great. All of these look awesome. This kind of looks like you got some delicious strawberry jelly. This is the secret, the eldritch secrets behind making the best jam sandwiches. And then we've got one that's purely about souls, looks like. Awesome. Yeah, they always do a fantastic job with the artwork for the tomes. This is no different. Tome of the Blood Rite is the first we're going to speak of here. It's a tier 1, which I think is awesome. Getting a new tier 1 in with at least a tier 1 tome so you can get building around them immediately is always incredible. So this is going to be performing forbidden and dangerous rites on our units to bleed your enemies and strengthen our allies. Looks like this will be all about bloods. We've got Rite of Bloodletting, Rite of Life Leeching, Blood Drinking Blades. We've got an enchantment there. Blood Cultist, Flesh Carved Runes, which looks like, I think this is that's either an enchantment or a transformation. I don't remember from the stream. And then Sanguine Focus, which also sounds like a enchantment for battle mages, probably to let them do the same kind of things the Blood Cultist is here, by making enemies bleed. We've got Shadow Chaos Affinity and the Blood Altar, which is a conduit. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Building full armies around the kind of the blood cults. Because we've got several. I'm going to bring Warhammer again, man, because it's just, this is the way I am. We've got several factions in Warhammer that aren't necessarily undead that would love to have different kind of blood associated effects, like blood cultists and different things like that. So we've got Druki. There's the Slanesh cults that are not all about the weird Slanesh stuff, but more about drinking blood and being creepy like that. We've got all the different vampires, of course. So we've got all sorts of cool stuff we can build there. First tome in the Tier 1 Tome of the Blood Rite focuses on cults, enabling you to damage your own units with spells for powerful effects and make your enemies bleed. They also have the unit the Blood Cultist, which is a Tier 2 Battle Mage, so it's got Hemorrhage Bolts, which is dealing all physical and likely more per stack of bleed or making them bleed. I don't exactly remember. They go over the exact stats and what the abilities do in the very first of the stream, so if you want to know where that comes from, it's very early on, too. Secondly, they've got an ability called the Scarlet Plague, which I believe is a kind of a single target nuke that deals more damage based on the number of stacks of either bleeding or the new bleed effect, the blood parasite effect. They've also got a Dagger of the Rite ability, which allows them to hurt themselves to deal more damage. Good stuff. Oh, they're probably about to tell us, too. The Blood Cultist is a Tier 2 Battle Mage whose fanatical duty is to let the blood flow. I mean, even though Khorne doesn't like mages, this could be a kind of mage he's cool with, right? Bloodbenders? Their Scarlet Plague ability applies Blood Parasite, a new bleeding effect. This negative stat effect acts and counts as bleeding, with the key difference of being that most units, even bloodless ones, can suffer from it. Oh, that's intriguing. If a unit dies while under this effect, the parasite is going to mature and spawn a new unit called the Blood Parasite. I think it's actually called a Blood Maggot. Hemorrhage Bolts facilitate this by dealing extra damage per stack of bleeding on its target, and if that's not enough, Dagger of the Rite ability increases all of their damage by 50%, with the downside of the unit is dying at the end of the turn. Oh, it dies. Fair enough. However, all is not lost, as the Dagger of the Rite also grants the cultist resurgence. If the battle is won, you get your cultist back. I mean, fair enough. All of the new units being about either sacrificing their own life or sacrificing their own hit points or just their life in general for bonus damage is incredible. Love it. And we can do all sorts of spooky things to exploit it too, like with these blood maggots here. which look awful. Look at these things. Yeah, it's like the Kiriko, but much, much, much worse. They've got the Parasitic Bloat, Corpse Gorge, and a kind of low damage melee strike because they are just a tier 1. They're immune to Blood Parasite because they are 1 themselves. The Blood Maggot is a tier 1 fighter that spawns with this new status effect. It moves through the battlefield, feeding on corpses and gorging and strengthening itself. When it dies, it splatters all adjacent enemy units, dealing damage and inflicting more blood parasites, thus restarting the cycle. That is crazy. And nature builds are actually about to go crazy. Because I think these count as, yeah, they count as animals, absolutely. Yeah, nature builds for the vampires are gonna be insane. That's really cool to see. And something we're gonna be building immediately, leading into the blood maggots, getting them as swollen as possible, then detonating to make more of them. Oh yeah, that sounds perfect. We've got the blood carved runes. That's what they're gonna look like into their skin. It's a minor transformation. Oh, I guess we could just wait instead of having to predict. It grants all of your racial units increased world map regeneration and makes their attacks and debuffs ignore 1 point of status resistance per stack of bleeding on the target. So the more bleed, the more you'll be able to afflict things like freeze or anything else that's a status effect, which is crazy strong. And then you get to heal more. We'll have to see exactly how much you heal, but that's awesome, and it looks cool too. Next up, we have the Blood Drinking Blades. Got the kind of swirly blood effect all over their long swords here. It's an enchantment for your melee units that increases their physical damage and heals them whenever they attack bleeding enemies. Yeah, that sounds perfect. So more heals on top if you're playing like a dark culture where you already get... I mean, they said they reworked it, but I do think they still get Cold a Week or something similar where they get the heal based on debuffs on the enemies, so that's going to just be able to further lean into that. All the healing. And then lastly, we have Sanguine Focus here, where they've got the kind of blood-bending effect with the orb in the center. Yeah, the team that is in charge of making all the effects does a fantastic job every single DLC. Much pats on the back for you, extra cookies, whatever you guys do to celebrate, more of it. Well done. The Sanguine Focus is an enchantment for your magical units that grants them a chance to make their targets bleed, thereby facilitating your melee unit's thirst for blood or the blood cultist increase damage. That'll make the blood cultist do more damage on top, so it's almost like a frenzy effect for them. That's crazy. Other spells and unlocks. Rite of Bloodletting and Rite of Life Leeching function similarly, but achieve different outcomes. Both rites require targeting a friendly unit, dealing a flat, unblockable 5 damage. The Rite of Bloodletting then inflicts bleeding on all enemy units within 2 hexes of the targeted friendly unit. Conversely, the Rite of the Life Leeching grants strengthen and life drain to all adjacent friendly units for 3 turns rather. That one seems like it's way stronger, but we'll have to see. It's a very cool looking effect though, isn't it? Just the kind of Eldritch Burst, you steal some health, and people get to bleed or deal more damage. Awesome. The Blood Altar and plus for 3 turns is a long time, so yeah, that is very worth the 5 damage you're taking. The Blood Altar is a special province improvement unlocked by this tome. It is a conduit that provides draft increased per nearby farm, because you're running out and you're snatching up the farmers, and a flat amount of mana whenever you are victorious in battle. And my legs have lost circulation because Mochi's been sitting here for a while, so hey Mochi, you're gonna have to, yeah, no, complain about it all you want. Go over here for a little bit, you can come back after we're done with this video. Goodbye, Mochi. Alright, Tome of Torment is the next one we're looking at here. This is a tier 3 all-shadow tome. We've got the Basilica of Lamentation. Awesome. Torment your enemies by turning their very actions against them, and make your units empowered by pain. Pain. We've got Tormenting Projectiles, Agonize, Painbound, Painbringer, a new unit, and then the Lens of Anguish. This looks awesome. Torment is going to be a new debuff type, and they're going to show that off here quite soon. I realize we should read the whole quotes here too, so let's get back up here to this one, and we'll read. Forbidden rites in a forgotten tongue, burned scrolls of a kingdom raised on blood and sacrifice. These are the memories of the one we now call the Deathless God. His tenets. Now he whispers them in my mind, as words to be carved into our flesh. For every gift he bestows and demands a price, and that price is blood. That is Imbria, the Bleeding Priestess, I believe is her name there. Yeah, she sounds great. Great to have at parties. Now down here for the Tome of Torment, we have make their bodies tremble with torment. For every inch they move, they shall pay with the grunts of agony. Let suffering drip like honey across their pulsing skin. Make them bow, make them beg, make them plead to their bringer of pain. And save some torment for yourself, for suffering is best inflicted when enjoyed firsthand. Oh yeah, that's a Princess Consort Mavelith. Yeah, she also seems like someone you want to avoid at all costs. Now, let's read a little bit more. The second new tome is a Tier 3 Pure Shadow Tome of Torment. This tome focuses on demoralizing your enemies and transforming your units to benefit them from the pain inflicted upon them. Yeah, this is very much a either, I guess, Cult of Pleasure, Cult of Blood for I don't know if it's Marathi, but there is at least one subsect of Dark Elves that'd be all about this, but this is also very much a Slaneshi tome, which is awesome. Torment is a new negative status effect which punishes a unit for using abilities, damaging them and causing them to lose morale whenever an ability is used. It can stack up to 5 times, and when it triggers, a stack is also removed. It also counters Grace. We have a counter for Grace now. And you take damage every time you use an ability. That's crazy. Wait, I'm sorry, you take damage and you lose morale. That's a double whammy. Acting as its opposite. So I'm guessing Grace might get a slight rework where it also gives you morale. It may not, but we'll see. We've got the Painbringer. She's got herself a whip. Of course she does. Looks like she's been in the, hanging out in the old Halo lobbies. She's full of needler needles. And has the cool kind of, bloodletting sword. Yeah, this is one of those characters you'd see walking at you slowly in Dark Souls, and you would just turn around and leave the first time you met them. And that's exactly what that would be. Mythic unit, 140 health, tier 4. The Mythic unit's a little bit of... Mythic units are very strong, but they can't get any of the kind of enchantments or... It's enchantments or transformations that your race gets, so... Actually, I take that back. Scratch that. Moving on. Draining Strike, we get 20 damage per swing, looks like. We got a Tormenting Lash, which hopefully has a bit of range, dealing 18 physical and frost damage. We got a Shadow Step, so she can teleport. Of course, defense mode. Control loss immunity, so you can't lose control of them, which is literally incredible. Flanker, Hyper Awareness, Watchful, so she gets to strike back a couple times. That is a scary unit. 5 and 5, it's fairly defensively statted. Yeah, you get athletics going, and you get some athletic Painbringers, and you shall be bringing the pain. Can't wait to get to using these. To lead your army of torment, we are introducing the Painbringer, the first racial mythic unit in the game. Oh, you know, I guess I was right. So normally, yeah, the mythic units absolutely wouldn't be able to get that, but she's a racial one, so she gets to have all of your transformations and such. Cool. It can't benefit from most unit enchantments, but it will still have transformations, which means this is going to be the strongest mythic unit likely in the entire game, because you can put all the transformations on. Yeah, that's so good. It has a free Shadow Step ability that you can use every turn to teleport up to 2 hexes, and its melee strikes heal it for half the damage they deal? Good grief. Together with its flanker passive, it can be a deadly comp. You think so, huh? A free teleport, and then it heals itself for half damage dealt. Man. Yeah, that's insane. Additionally, it has the ranged whip ability called Tormenting Lash that instantly applies 4 stacks of torment. It is ranged, it gives you torment too. Actually, the kind of interesting thing is these are going to be pretty decent against each other Painbringers because they have that teleport. So any ability they use is gonna trigger that. So if they're trying to use multiple in a turn, that's multiple triggers of torment, which is kind of cool. They deal pain. Oh, look at these little spikes stuck through her. And the purple eyes. This tome has a minor transformation called Painbound, which makes units relish pain. Whenever a Painbound unit is struck, it gains a small amount of morale and a random status effect. Whoa, that's strong. Yeah, we need to get some Painbound, like, super tanky Materium stuff going. That sounds crazy, because you can even hit your own units with some, like, AoE attacks. Cause that to stack up. Yes. Tormenting projectiles makes your battle mages and range units apply Torment. The fact that it's both battle mages and range units makes it a very good enchantment. And apply Torment with each strike. You get your little bit of a purpley... Has it got spikes floating around it? Cool. Agonize is going to deal, probably now we're down to other spells and unlocks. I've been too enamored by just the thought of building around this tome. This one's incredible. We've seen how strong just building purely around morale drop is, and this is no different. Agonize for spells is going to deal frost damage in a 1 hex radius, which is likely this one, and has a high chance to apply 3 stacks of torment. Lens of Anguish is going to be a throne-only building, which grants mana and combat casting points while making all of your combat damage and debuff spells inflict morale loss. Yikes. Basilica of Lamentation is a special province improvement gained while unlocking this tome. Grants mana, knowledge, and stability to the city, gaining more mana from adjacent farms and more knowledge from adjacent foresters. So you're basically farming the suffering of your peasants. That's great. Moving right along, let's take one quick look directly at that. Oh, it's got little spiky skulls too, and a kind of like dark ring in the ground. Yeah, the spell animations just keep getting better. Good stuff. It's a whole bunch of blood mages too. They should be enjoying that greatly. Alright, lastly here we have the Tome of the Crimson Rain, which is a tier 4 tome. Embrace a forgotten and corrupt magic which empowers your high tier units and has your faction embrace an ancient form of undeath, gaining the power to spread blood parasites onto your enemies, so a stronger major transformation. Chaos and Shadow, of course. We've got Tears of the Crimson Sovereign. That is a excellent name. Mantle of the Blood Noble. Gifts of the Old Blood. Crimson Court, and Summon the Blood Exarch. Let's get in and see what these actually are about. Actually, we can read this one. The Blood Emperor, does he need to sound kind of like Palpatine? Blood carries greater power than mortals may think. Does the blood of the Archons not carry their essence? Do we not use blood as payment for our magic? Blood is where the soul resides, and so we drink to fill the void within. For the gift of the old blood demands souls to sacrifice, and we have long spent our own. Oh, great. The Blood Emperor Eternal. We don't have our old souls to give, so we'll just gather up yours. Does that sound great? Oh, look at this thing. Oh, they're incredible. This almost even looks like a kind of futuristic weapon. Even though these channels are definitely for gathering up blood. And they've got four arms and the kind of blood parasite buried in their chest. I think when Luis was talking about this in the stream, he was mentioning these are like what they consider the kind of the vampiric equivalent to, or what he was trying to design. It was the vampiric equivalent to the Eldritch Sovereign. So maybe this is like an elder vampire that has gone even further beyond and just started to kind of fully warp and corrupt. Let's see. Tome of the Crimson Rain is a tier 4 tome that centers on a corrupt and eldritch nobility. This tome delves into the sanguine and gory aspects of eldritch monsters, portraying them as a symbiotic force that empowers units. Actually, before I jump in, let's take a quick look at these stats and abilities. 160, it's a mythic. The interesting, this is also a racial mythic. We've got Parasitic Cleave, dropping those blood parasites down in a AoE attack, which sounds just terrifying. A Lesser Siphon, this will be just a single target damage. Blood Pull to drag someone closer. Grant Blood of the Exarch to empower one of your units likely. Coagulate. I don't know, I like to try to speculate. So this is likely you get struck and perhaps either you make enemies bleed or you get more defense. We'll see on that one. Control Loss Immunity, of course. Demolisher, Heartless. Life Drinker, which I think is the stat that allows you to steal half health of whatever damage you deal. And then Oppressing Aura, which you lose your luck. Let's read what it actually does. The Blood Exarch is the source of this corruption. This undead unit is an otherworldly monster of flesh and gore that bestows blessings. Its Parasitic Cleave slashes 3 units in front of the Exarch, bestowing with them with a blood parasite so they can be reborn as maggots. Don't worry, your new father's here. Stab. The Lesser Siphon, it is going to deal increased damage that lowers. Let's try to read that again. Lesser Siphon deals increased damage the lower the unit's tier, and heals the Exarch for half the damage dealt. So it's for culling like low tier units. Interesting. It also connects to its Grant Blood of the Exarch ability, which starts on cooldown. However, if Lesser Siphon kills an enemy, Blood of the Exarch's cooldown is refreshed. This ability can then be used to target your tier 3 or higher units, those who deserve to be part of the Crimson Reign, to grant them increased damage, critical chance, and critical damage. So basically, you have kind of a combination of, well, and I guess with them you want nothing but elites. I was gonna say you want some kind of low tier units, but those are for enemies. Although if you decide to target your own, say one of your blood maggots with this ability, you zap them real quick, turn them into probably another. I guess the blood maggots can't, but you detonate them, and then you can use that grant blood of the Exarch on any of your units, which would be awesome. I mean, your tier 3 or elite units. Cool. Increased damage, critical hits, and critical damage. It would be interesting to see these exact numbers, though. Probably it can't be more than 20% of each, but we'll see. Blood Pull is a free action ability that pulls an enemy unit adjacent to the Exarch, right next to you. Get over here. In addition to these active abilities, the Blood Exarch also has 3 new passives. Coagulate grants it bolstered defense and resistance once per turn when struck, so that's what we kind of thought it'd be. But it is only one time, so it's not going to be as impressive as, like, Fenrir's defense. Its suppressing aura passive has a chance to make adjacent enemies lose morale and gain misfortune. That is a double whammy for sure. I figured it would at least be something of the shortest sort, like misfortune, or at least lowering critical hit chance. But misfortune means that if they fumble or they miss an attack, they punch themselves in the face in confusion, quite like Pokemon, which is great, increasing their chance to fumble. Life Drinker heals the Exarch and grants it strengthen whenever a unit, friend, or foe dies adjacent to it. Oh, so not quite what I thought. So Life Drinker, you get strengthened and you get some health. Look at this. Things get even more interesting and dark with the Gift of the Old Blood, a new major transformation. Also a new way to gain the undead unit type. It comes a bit later than Whiteborn, but offers additional benefits. It grants your units the new Life Drinker passive ability, seen before on the Blood Exarch, which heals and strengthens units as enemies die or just units die around them. It also gives all their attacks a chance to spread the new Blood Parasite status effect. Everyone's going to turn into a maggot, and when they die, it's just going to make our troops stronger. Cool stuff. To help you create your Crimson Reign, there's the new Mantle of the Blood Noble enchantment. Does it give you a blood cape? It attaches to all tier 3, 4, and 5 units, giving them the Exarch's Coagulator passive. When entering battle, the enchanted units gain a small amount of their maximum hit points and healing received in combat, scaling with the number of tier 1. Oh, really? So you can let them get damaged quite a bit, and then the second your battle starts, you then gain health, depending on the number of tier 1 and 2 units you have. That is very interesting. Cool. It does mention 4 and 5. I can't think of any tier 5 units that you get that are racial, so you'll have to let me know in the comments which ones do you think, or do you all think that this is going to actually apply to all units, including mythics? I kind of doubt it, but it'd be interesting. Tier 5 units, huh? Other spells and unlocks. The Crimson Court is a throne-only structure that once built grants all of your tier 3, 4, and 5 units increased regeneration on the world map and a small amount of experience per turn. Additionally, building this structure grants you the passive ability called Crimson Court Magistrate. This ability causes all of your vassals to provide extra mana based on their population, and generates large amounts of mana when migrating or raising cities as well as pillaging provinces. Yeah, if you combine that up with, there's an order Tome that grants you extra mana for your vassals, so if you kind of combine those, go Order, Shadow, and Chaos, you can get some serious mana production from your vassals. Tears of the Crimson Sovereign is going to be a combat spell that when cast, and for the next 2 turns, damages and inflicts Blood Parasite on up to 3 enemies, and heals and gives fortune to up to 3 friendly units. So it's a battle enchantment that just rains down blood, heals the good, and, well, I guess the undead, and damages those that are against you, and inflicts them with parasites. We hope you like what you've seen here. These were very fun to design. Become a cultist of the blood, rite, a tormentor and who knows a myriad ways to inflict pain, or a brazen leader who summons an eldritch being of flesh and undeath upon your lands to bless your units and turn your enemies into maggots. This content pack comes out on November 11th, and we here at Triumph are all super excited to see what you come up with. Join us next week as Ellie will show you, hope that's the name, if it's Elle or Ellie, apologize if I butchered it. We'll show you the behind-the-scenes work that goes into making this content come to life. You know, I always love seeing the new tomes. I'm thinking this Blood X arc, this thing is going to be insane. However, because back up to it, this Painbringer is a racial unit. I'm actually betting that this thing is going to be probably the new unit that everyone is going to be very, very sad to see in multiplayer, but also the one that everyone's going to be using. Before it was the Fire Templar, the Pyre Templar rather, but now I think it'll be likely this Painbringer. Will be interesting to find out. We have lots of ways to inflict issues with enemies' morale, whole bunch of fun stuff with Bleed now, which Bleed before was really, really kind of boring. But now we've got all sorts of kind of crazy ways to get that going. So you can combine vampires with Materium, you can combine vampires with nature for some crazy stuff with the Blood Maggots. Can't wait to get building. Let me know what you all are going to kind of build on up for your very first faction, or what you're cooking with after seeing these tomes. I have been Space Was a Total War. Please do remember to leave a like for Light God and a sub for the sub zone if you did enjoy today's video, and I'll see you all in the next one.